There's no flush sound. Hey, everybody. Okay. Gosh, I look like a ghost this morning. Whoosh. Just putting on a leather oil this morning. My speakers blend so that hopefully we can connect well together. Hello, hello. Okay, say hello if you can see and hear us okay. I don't think I can see any. My app is frozen here. What? Oh, there we go. There we go.
We're there.
Good morning, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
Okay, so hello to all of you who are watching us on Facebook Live. Those of you who are joining us on the replay or on the recording on our YouTube channel, wherever you're joining us from. We are welcoming you from Northern California in the town of Loomis, California. And
raise your hand if you've heard of Loomis before.
Anybody heard of Loomis before? It's a beautiful area. We're so excited to be here for a couple of weeks, getting to spend time. We're going to get to connect with some extended family members of ours next week. And we've already been loved on by so many in our doTERRA family here. We have a lot of our doTERRA family here. And so getting to connect with them over the next couple weeks. Those of you who are new, my name is Amy Miller, and this is Jim Miller. I'm a wife and a mom who doesn't seem to dream sometimes. And in many ways, I've forgotten how to dream. But this is Free Friday. This is our weekly series on Fridays to address freedom. Freedom to experience life more fully, more abundantly, and bonus if we can do it naturally. Now, last week we started a series. Actually, you had a story you wanted to share. You want to share that story?
Sure. Yeah. So it was about 25 years ago. I'm kind of aging myself here a little bit. About 25 years ago, and I remember distinctly laying on the floor in the gym. And there are about 25 other guys laying on the floor around me. And we're laying on the floor, and I can hear a voice that's speaking to us. The lights are off. We're all on our backs laying there. And I remember
Jim, get
thinking, up. Come to the light. I remember thinking, this is really weird. But it was something that we were trying. And now looking back on it, 25 years later, I see what was going on. It was a practice. We were practicing an outcome. We were having a mental preparation for a physical thing that we were doing.
Visualization.
It was visualization. That's what it was. Yeah, and I had no idea what it was at the time, and it felt really kooky and weird. But I remember practicing the things that it talked about and seeing successes with it after that. And it was shocking to me in a lot of ways. But at the same time, now looking back, you understand why as we start to see the science behind this. Visualization is a powerful tool. It's been used by athletes for years and years, but now it's starting to make its way into other areas of life as well with other people. And so we get to talk about visualization today.
Yeah, so whether you are wanting to use visualization in just life in general, whether you are a family in ministry, or whether you have a platform in your business, in your work, whether you are an entrepreneur, these are tools that we hope that you can use in your lives. So last week, we started talking about this topic of dreaming and how to dream. And so today, we're going to continue that freedom from a dull life. Nobody wants that, right? We're going to live free from monotony and those boring routines. And we're going to live more free to live like a child, freedom from limitations, free to dream, free to experience your best life more abundantly. And so we started talking about this a little bit last week. You know, what were your childhood dreams? Just put in the comments below, even if you're watching on the replay. We would love to hear what were some of your childhood dreams. Jim and I shared some of ours last week. But we're going to talk about this. You know, I feel like in so many ways have we forgotten how to dream, and do we feel like we have the freedom to dream? And what is your dream? And what is visualization anyway? How to visualize your dreams and a why. Now, if you're hearing chaos in the background, it's because there is chaos.
I am going to go restore a little bit of order. You guys, can you see the order that's about to be restored in the other room?
We'll come back to complete order. Okay. So, so if you think that this is somebody, if you know somebody in your life, in addition to yourself, that maybe somebody who just, you know that they need to start dreaming again, or need to figure out how to visualize their dreams, go ahead and click the share button so that they can find value in this as well. But in case you weren't with us last week, I'm just going to give just like a little recap before we talk a little bit more about all of this. But, you know, when we were little, we dreamed big, didn't we? And somewhere along the way, society told us that we had to limit our dreams. And I believe we've forgotten how to dream. We typically can only imagine the practical, the pragmatic things, those things that fit in those specific boxes, right? With our work life, with our home life, with our parenting, with our relationships with parents and family members and extended family, all those kinds of things. We forget that the box is only there because you put it there, or maybe somebody told you that that's where it is. And this is its specific shape, you know? So last week we talked about giving yourself permission to dream and then dreaming bigger until it scares you. And, you know, this is something that I really struggle with. And I know.
Terrible at it.
I dream about practical things that are totally possible to achieve.
I visualize I am dreaming of clean dishes.
Yeah. You know, I can't even think of one right now, but I mean, it just, my mind goes blank when I think about what are the dreams that God's given you.
Yeah.
And so,
yes, we start to dream. I feel like it's an exercise. It's like a muscle that we have to flex and we have to exercise. Just like if you were working out, you wouldn't get down on the bench press and you know, for guys, you wouldn't plan on getting down on the bench press and benching 250 pounds the first time you tried it. And you know, if we went for a run, you would not go run a marathon or a 5K the very first time you go run. It's something that you have to build up to. And I think dreaming is the same. You know, our minds are, over years, it's taken years for us to kind of back away from our dreams. And so it'll take some time for you to begin to expand your dreams again. So you started off as a kid, you were wired to dream and to dream big, to dream huge. But then over time, as you would have a dream, maybe you wanted to be you know, what it was that you wanted to be when you grew up. And then so you got a little bit older and you realized, well, that's not really the path I'm going to go down. And so that dream kind of got knocked down. And as we have more dreams, or, you know, you kind of get a crush on somebody, oh, I want to go out with them. And then it doesn't happen. So that dream gets knocked down. So you have all these dreams that are layered.
Was that me?
Get knocked down. Finally, my dream came true.
Oh, hey, Bethany. Hey, Nancy. Glad you guys are joining us.
But all these dreams that you have get knocked down. And so gradually over time, you begin to pull back on your dreams and say, well, I'm not going to dream so big then. I'm not going to dream so big. And so
they become more and more practical.
And your dreams become more and more practical. Mm-hmm. Now my dream is that I'm going to pass my French test, you know, That's a dream that you have now. Or, well, that's not really the dream that God designed you for. And so for you to get back in the space of being able to dream big again, you need to practice and exercise that dream muscle. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how visualization can be a part of that process to get you to not only to dream big, but then to begin to move in the direction of realizing your dreams. So I heard a great quote.
Yeah.
So that visualization is, oh, you wrote it down. I gave it to Amy.
Where is it? Visualization, simply put, is daydreaming with a purpose.
Yeah. Visualization is daydreaming with a purpose.
Or like Jim was talking about earlier, it was a mental rehearsal for him for his baseball games. You know, it's that rehearsal for what is to come and what you're planning to come. And even now as we're talking, I'm just thinking, you know, maybe you have a dream for someone that has become so practical, but maybe you need to be dreaming that that person, someone you know, is completely overcoming an addiction, and not only overcoming and conquering that addiction, but is now helping other people overcome addictions.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's someone, you know, God is placing dreams in our hearts. We just have to start asking him, what are they? Help me see them. Because I've put everything in that box that we were talking about. So I love this quote by, who is it? Sherry Carter Scott. Listen, it says, ordinary people believe only in the possible. Extraordinary people visualize not what is possible or probable even, but rather what is impossible. And by visualizing the impossible, they begin to see it as possible. And that's where we want to move towards. Not just believing in only the possible. I mean, we could do the possible,
right?
But God isn't working in the impossible, and so we want to begin to visualize those things that He could help us bring to pass. So, how can we even begin to do this? How can we even begin to visualize the dreams that have been placed on my heart, on your heart, on our hearts? You had some interesting thoughts on how to actually begin doing that.
So I think one of the things that we talked about this a little bit last week is that as you begin to dream, you need to put yourself in the position of that dream. So don't dream about a day that might one day come, but as you're dreaming about it, put yourself in that place of the dream happening. So it's not one day I want to, but as you dream and visualize, I am doing this. And so with just going back to that baseball example again, as we were visualizing certain situations, I would not think to myself, okay, so if he were to throw this pitch, then I would do this. I would picture it happening. I would imagine it in my mind. I'm standing there getting ready, and I can see the pitcher up on the mound, and I can see the way he's digging in his glove with the ball, and I can watch him go into his windup, and I can see all of the players and everything in the field around him. I can see the grass. I can see the sky. I can see all of those things. I'm in the moment. And I actually had one time where I was visualizing something. I was in the car. I remember this distinctly. This just remembered that I was in the car and I was thinking about a soccer game, and I was thinking about what would happen, and I kicked in the car. I kicked the door.
He's gonna kick the car hole in the dresser.
And I was like, whoa! But I was so in the moment that my body just did the thing. And so the same thing applies, that you want to put yourself in that position so that when the moment arrives, your body will just do the thing. You'll just do it because you practiced it and practiced it and practiced it. You've come to a point where you recognize what's going on. Your body and brain recognize the situation, the scenario that you've rehearsed so many times. And now you automatically step into times. And so the daydreaming, the visualization is that daydream with a purpose. It's planning and preparing you to walk out your dream. That's what the visualization is for, is to help you walk that out. But in order to make that true, you have to put yourself in the situation so that your body can rehearse it, so that your brain rehearses it and knows what to do.
Yeah, so it's you're putting yourself in the driver's seat. You're feeling all the feels of the dream. You're smelling the smells. You're painting the picture. You're adding in all the details. And if all of this sounds foreign to you or something that you've never even experienced, I'm right here with you. Jim may have done this in the past and he actually didn't know what he was doing at the time. But yeah, this has been used by a tool that's been used by athletes, especially for many years. And so why would we even want to do this though? Why do we even want to do this? You know, the greatest gift that we can give to the people that we love is to live life to our full potential. And so that in itself is a reason why. So think back now, what do you really want? Forget about logic, forget about limits, those boxes, and being practical. If you could have anything you wanted, do anything you wanted, be anything you wanted, what would you have? What would you do? What would you be? Or who would you be? And if you need something more visual to visualize, consider doing something like a vision board. Now, this was something introduced some years back. I think it was brought on really popular by Oprah. And so some people think it's kind of like wishy-washy hoo-ha. I don't know.
That's a technical term,
it's a
by
technical
the way.
term.
Hoo-ha.
It's very opalescent. But a vision board can literally just give you something tangible to focus on during your visualization. And so if you need to pull some pictures off the internet and make a little collage with it, virtually on your computer, or, actually go and get some magazines and cut out pictures that maybe represent some things that you're thinking of. We first did a visual vision board probably about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And we have seen so many of those things come to fruition. One of the things is we wanted to be able to have more time freedom. We wanted to have the ability to spend more time together as a family and us have control over our day rather than someone else having control over our day. And we wanted to be able to give to more organizations and things that really were heavy on our hearts. And so many other things that have come to fruition. And so that may be helpful to you in giving you just something more tangible. Comment below if you've ever created anything like a vision board. I'm curious how many of you have ever created something like that, a visual board, just a tangible way of kind of focusing on dreams and desires that God's placed on your heart. And I'm not talking about, you could put a car on there, your dream car or whatever, but that's not what I'm talking about. And I think you guys understand that, right? We're talking about
we're just not just talking about being able to write a big check, but to live on your own terms. So what are the terms of life that you really want to achieve to? And how is it that you want to help people? And what are some things that you want to do? And we talk about, had a guy talk about what would you do with an extra $100 a month? Just dream about what you could do with $100 a month. And then you talk about dreaming about what you could do with an extra $100,000 a month. And when he talked about that, it kind of puts you in a different perspective. Now it's gone from money to opportunity. And really we want to take you from that space of money to the space of opportunity to allow you to think about opportunities and goals that you could strive toward. I know I use money as an example of not using money, but so poor example, but just kind of go on this journey with us mentally here.
Yeah, Jerry, you said one of your childhood dreams was wanting to help people and you loved giving people massages. You're such a giver, Jerry.
Yeah. And then Nancy had a dream of leaving her new job, starting a new job. And she was able to do that after 13 years.
Yes. Living your life. Yes. Nancy, you also said living your life towards your dream. Well, I don't know if we are amazing, but God has definitely been helping us along the way, and he can help you bring those dreams to fruition and actually solidify those more.
Yeah.
Nancy, you said it's hard because we live life, we go along, we forget we can dream and change our lives. At 57, changing jobs, I was ready to retire. Yes. Yeah. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Denise. Hey, Missy and Ben. Glad you guys are joining us. If you're just now joining us, go back to the beginning and watch the replay. Because I think that this will really resonate with you if you've been like me and forgotten how to dream in life. And so, yes, we can change our lives at 57, Nancy. Yes. Our lives are not over at 57 for sure. And so,
which is great news.
Yeah. So, you want to share that one last story before we go about Michael Phelps?
Yeah. So so you guys have heard of Michael Phelps, who's
right.
the swimmer, and he was known as somebody that was just had a routine that was out of this world as far as the things that he would do, his daily routine. And a big part of that was visualization and practice and preparation for every different situation that could come up in a swimming meet. And so he would get on his track, the way he described it. He said, I would get in my track, and when I was on my track, I was focused mentally and physically, and things would just happen for me at that point. And it was he was in the Olympic Games. It was the finals of the 200-meter medley, I believe, if I'm remembering that part correct. But he got up on the starting block, and he was in his track. He was in his location. He was in the right spot. And as the race began, he dove into the water with the other swimmers, and he's favored to win. He's favored to win the gold medal, but he dives in the water with the other swimmers, and all of a sudden his goggles start to fill up with water. And if you've ever been in the swimming pool and you're trying to swim with goggles on, and as you're swimming, you're coming through with goggles on, your water is filling up those goggles, you lose everything. You can't see a thing in the pool at that point. Yeah. And so you have a choice. You can either pull your goggles off or just kind of flounder around and hope that you can figure it out. Well, he had mentally rehearsed so well that he knew how many strokes he was supposed to take between walls. And so he swam the entire race blind, basically, and won by more than half a second. He won the gold medal by more than half a second. It wasn't until after the race that everybody found out that his goggles had filled up with water that he couldn't see. But his visualization and his mental preparation had put him in a spot so that when something like that happened, he was prepared for it.
Yeah.
And so visualization is not just taking the dreams, but sometimes it's also taking the negative things that can happen to you, and preparing for those and saying, okay, well, this happens. If this happens, this is how I'm going to react. And you train your brain to react a certain way, whether it's to a good stimulus or a bad stimulus. And now when that situation comes up, you have already begun to dig the grooves in your brain that show your brain what to do next and where to go. Or another one, I'll give you a quick one. So there was a guy that was a prisoner of war, and he
Jim
loved
was like
playing
a professional storyteller.
He loved playing golf, and he was a prisoner of war. And every day in his brain, in his mind, he would play a golf course that was really close to his house where he grew up. And so he would walk the course every day in his mind. It was years later that he was finally released as a prisoner of war. He flew back home. He went and he got his clubs and he went to that golf course and played the golf course, and he shot an 84, which for those of you that don't know golf, that's really a good score for most people. That's a good score for people that have been playing every day. But he hadn't, obviously he'd been a prisoner of war. He hadn't touched a golf club in years, but the first time he did, he was able to shoot a good score, and he attributes it to the fact that he had been playing it in his mind over and over. So his body knew what to do, even though he hadn't been able to do it physically for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so we've been sharing some of these examples of athletes and things like that. Carrie, I'm sure your husband has done this as well in his many years of ball. But we can utilize these same techniques in our own lives. And so if you're like me and you've forgotten how to dream, next week, we're going to sign off, but next week we're continuing this talk. So we're going to talk it out next week. So next week, you definitely want to be with us because you want to have, if you have trouble even having a dream or dreams, I encourage you, begin spending time maybe just before you go to sleep at night, asking God, give me dreams. I've completely forgotten how to do that. Help me to see outside the box like you do. And I promise you, he will begin to give those to you. He reminds us all the time that when we seek him, we will find him. And we know that God's an outside the box thinker. We've seen that as we've traveled, you know, as we see more and more of his creation. He's an outside the box thinker. And so if we want to be able to begin to visualize those dreams, put yourself in the driver's seat for those, because next week we're going to talk this out. So thank you guys for joining us. And we're so glad. Even if you're watching this on the replay, comment below. We'd love to hear from you about we want to continue this conversation. We want to hear your thoughts and feedback on this topic. And so we'll see you guys back here next Friday. Okay, bye.
Bye guys.